Hi, 6th graders. This is Mrs. Gall. Today I'm going to talk you through how to multiply and divide with mixed numbers. Please open up your notebook to a new page, put this title at the top, press play when you're ready to continue. Alright, let's get started with some problems in our notes. We're going to start with multiplying mixed numbers. Remember, a mixed number is a fraction with a whole number out in front of it. So we're going to start with 2 2/3 times, remember that times we can use different symbols that mean multiply, so I'm going to be using a dot for this problem, times 4 1/10. The first thing we need to do when multiplying mixed numbers is turn our fractions improper before we start multiplying. We can't just do 2 times 4 and then multiply the fractions. That will not get us the correct value. We need to turn our fractions improper. The way we do that, grab a different color here, is we take our denominator and multiply it by the whole number out in front. 3 times 2 is 6. Then we add the pieces in the numerator to that 6, which is another 2. 6 plus 2 is 8. That means 2 2/3 as an improper fraction is 8/3. Let's do that now with our 4 1/10. We take our bottom number, 10, and multiply it by our number out in front, 4. That gives us 40. Then we add our numerator to that. 40 plus 1 gives us 41/10. Now we multiply just like a multiplication problem that we did the other day. If you like to cross simplify, I would highly encourage trying it with these problems. In case you need a reminder or have not seen cross simplifying, here's what you do. You look at your numbers that are diagonal from each other and try to simplify the diagonals. 8 and 10 can both be divided by 2, so I'm going to simplify by dividing them both by 2. I end up with a 4 and a 5. 3 and 40 I cannot simplify because 41 is not divisible by 3, so I cannot do any cross simplifying for my other diagonal, but if I could, I would. So those are just going to stay 3 and 41. Now we multiply straight across with our new numbers. 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 41, if you need to do a little bit of scratch work, do that off to the side. We get 164. Now I know that's still a pretty large number, but we would have gotten a much larger number if we did 41 times 8. So doing that cross simplifying just breaks down our numbers a little bit more for us. What's wrong with 164/15? It's improper, so we need to turn that to a mixed number and see if there's anything we need to simplify. So we're going to figure out how many 15s go into 164. I'm guessing it's going to be, let's see, 15 times 10 is 150. And if I added one more 15 there, I'd be up to 165. So it seems like just 10 15s are going to fit in there. And then 164 minus 150 is going to be our remainder, which is 14 15ths. Remember that a fraction bar means to divide. So really all you need to do there is think about how many 15s can go into 164. And that will give you your answer as well. So you can always do long division there, especially as these problems start to get larger and we're dealing with mixed numbers. Let's do another one. Lots of big numbers, lots of processes there. On this one, if you would like to see me walk through another one, then you can watch as I walk through it. If you want to try one on your own or parts of it on your own, pause the video as we're working. Okay, so the second one, let's try 2 1/5. We'll do an asterisk, that also means times. 1 3/4. Before we begin, we need to turn these fractions, these mixed numbers, into improper fractions. We cannot solve with the whole number out in front. You take the denominator, multiply it by 2 to get 10, add the 1 to get 11, denominator stays the same. Take our 4 in the second fraction, times it by the 1 out in front, we get 4. Add 4 plus 3, you get 7/4. If I could do some cross simplifying here, I would, but I have a 5 and a 7 and a 4 and an 11, so actually there isn't going to be anything I can cross simplify there. So I'm just going to multiply straight across. 11 times 7 is 77. 5 times 4 is 20. That's improper. How many 20s can go into 77? Well, I know 20 times 3 is 60. And that's going to be as close as I can get because 20 times 4 is 80. Since 20 times 3 is 60, I need to take 77 minus 60 to see what's remaining. I get 17/20. Again, we just did long division right there. We asked ourselves how many 20s went into 77. We got 3. The remainder we wrote as a fraction, just like we did in the long division unit. 3 and 17/20. Let's move on to the other type of problem, which is dividing with mixed numbers. Dividing with mixed numbers is a very similar process, but you have to think back to the division we've done in class so far. Remember, we have our process we have to use when dividing fractions. So let's do an example together. 2½ divided by 3 4/5. Just like with multiplying mixed numbers, with dividing mixed numbers, you also need to turn them improper before you begin. And that's the first thing you need to do is turn them improper. So let's do that now. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. So my first fraction turns into 5/2. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 more is 19. So my second fraction turns into 19/5. Now we are dividing a pair of fractions. What do we do when dividing fractions? We keep the first fraction. We change the sign from division to multiplication. We flip the last fraction, so we're multiplying by its reciprocal. The reciprocal of 19/5 is 5/19. You could look at your diagonals to see if there's anything you can simplify here. 5 and 2 cannot simplify. Oops. 5 and 19 cannot simplify. So neither of those can be simplified by the diagonal, so that means I'm just going to multiply straight across. 5 times 5 is 25. 2 times 19 is 38. Can we simplify 25 and 38? Is there anything we can divide both of those numbers by? 25 has factors like 5, and that's really it. 38 is not divisible by 5, so we are in simplest form. You try one of those on your own. Pause the video, press play to hear me walk through the answer. So here's our problem. 1 1/9 divided by 1 1/3. When you're ready to hear the answer, press play. Start by turning these improper. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. 10/9 for the first fraction. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 more is 4. 4/3 for the second fraction. First thing we did was turned those fractions improper. Now we multiply by the reciprocal, also known as keep, change, flip. Keep your first fraction, change your division to multiply, flip your second fraction. This was a great problem to cross simplify on because both of the diagonals could be simplified. You could divide 9 and 3 by 3 to get down to a 3 and a 1. You can divide 4 and 10 by 2 to get that down to a 5 and a 2. When you multiply straight across, you then end up with 5/6. Now let's say you did not do that. You did 10 times 3 to get 30 and 9 times 4 to get 36. That's fine. You then just would want to simplify. So 30 and 36 can both be divided by 2 or 3 or 6. And if I get that down to simplest form, 30 divided by 6 is 5. 36 divided by 6 is 6. So you end up at 5/6 as well. All right, you guys, that is multiplying and dividing mixed numbers. Biggest thing to remember, turn those mixed numbers improper before you begin, and then just follow your rules for multiplying or dividing fractions depending on what type of problem you're doing. Check in with your teacher if you have any questions.